So we have been basically as an engineering company writing the drivers so that your models can run on top of any one of these accelerators and you're not limited to just NVIDIA GPUs.
Baik, Pak hadirin sekalian, kita sesaat lagi akan beranjak ke pemimpin berikutnya, our keynote speaker. Tentunya yang akan membagikan insightful information terkait teknologi digital Indonesia, Agentic AI, tentu saja dengan tema Accelerating Enterprise AI with Open Source Innovation. Without further ado, we're going to invite Mr. Sandip Sharma as AI Lead Sales Specialist SEAK Red Hat. Boleh tepuk tangan yang meriah.
Selamat pagi. Can you all hear me all right? Good morning. So I'm here to talk about not the use cases because, people have been talking about use cases, but what you exactly require to build up those use cases, the infrastructure side of things, right? The software stack that you require. But before I go into that, I'm going to stress on open source, right? Because open source is driving this innovation. Now, if you look at this slide, what it says, ChatGPT, which was launched in November 2022, till January 2023, there was no competition. ChatGPT was a proprietary model which kind of made everything before it obsolete. So all the predictive models we talked about, the boosting models, the NLP models, the Whisper, they all became like obsolete once ChatGPT was launched because people see this as the future, the generative AI. This kind of, was a period where there was no open source at all. However, when you talk about March 2023, Llama came out, followed by Llama, it was Falcon, which was a UAE model. And then there was a whole plethora of models. Towards the end of last month, we had even GPT launch the open source. So if you are not familiar, on 5th of August, GPT launched GPT open source, right? You had DeepSeek, you had Llama 4, which also made it very, very popular. So open source is basically now driving most of the innovation when it comes to both generative and predictive AI, and it's back into business. And this is where, you see that this chart is very, very light on this slide, but basically what it says is that there was a whole plethora of open source models which kind of now is overtaking your proprietary and closed source models like GPT, Gemini, Cloud. They are being replaced by most of the time with Llama, Mistral, DeepSeek, or GPT OSS. So if you want to host your own private, open source models to do your process your sensitive data, to build your agents, which will hit into your repositories, into your databases, into your API endpoints, you need to secure that channel. And that's where open source becomes very, very critical. What is Red Hat doing in open source? Well, Red Hat has its genesis in Linux. So in 1993, we introduced Linux. And what we are doing is we are helping customers, when they have a vision for building an agentic AI solution, they start with the use case. So the use case could be an HR agent. It could be a banking agent. But in order to build that use case, you require some LLM below it. So it could be a GPT, it could be a Llama, it could be a Mistral, it could be any model, and you need to choose from one of those models. And then, what you look at is the agentic framework. So the agentic framework here could be a Llama stack, could be LangChain, or what is becoming very popular is low-code agentic frameworks like NA10, Flowwise, Diffie. So these are some of the technologies which you will be choosing to build your agents, irrespective of what agent you are building. In order to host these models and host these agents to run in a scalable manner, you would require some kind of a model server. A model server is basically something like a VLLM. Think of it like a Linux in the old days for your databases, for your different applications. So here for LLM, you would require something like a TGIS or a TensorRT LLM, or a basic one is like Olama, but VLLM is kind of one of the most popular engines where you can host your models for inferencing requirements. So I'm going kind of top down here, all the key requirements. And then, of course, you want to put a governance layer around it so that you can track who is doing what. There's all things about AI safety, AI governance that comes into play. This then brings in the GPU accelerators. So now you would start thinking about whether to use H100 or Blackwell series B200s, or you just need a L40S, for example, from NVIDIA or AMD. So you will start thinking about which accelerator or which GPU to use. And then you will probably go to either Microsoft or Google or Dell to acquire the infrastructure. So it could be your private cloud, it could be the public cloud, it could be an on-premise deployment. So these are some of the decisions that you have to make as a customer, as a vendor, when you are trying to host or build your agentic AI application. Red Hat is basically working in this area with the open source technology. And this is where I will introduce my company, which is Red Hat. So here, we partner with the providers like Microsoft, Google, even the hardware providers like Dell, where depending upon whether the customer is trying to use the cloud or on-prem, and bring in the GPU accelerators together. So this is where you would choose which GPU to use. Red Hat basically is like the platform, which is like an operating system, which is the Linux, or the container platform, which is basically OpenShift, which is giving you the place to host all your microservices. And on top of this will sit all your libraries, all your data science libraries. So these data science libraries could be the likes of VLLM, TensorFlow, PyTorch, could be predictive, could be generative. And this is where you would implement things like your ML ops, your LLM ops for monitoring, for security, for compliance, and for inferencing. This is where now comes in Hugging Face, or NVIDIA NIMS, which is providing the models. So Red Hat partners with Hugging Face, where you basically can download any model. And in fact, we have been working with the model creators to create more optimized versions of these models that can be hosted on this platform. And this also comes with ISVs, like your Cloudera, like your Redis, like your watsonx, which can sit on top of this platform. So if you want to have like an agentic tool which is pre-built, you can take those agentic tools like n8n or Flowwise to basically run on top of this platform. Now, this whole stack can give you a private AI setup where you can totally disconnect it from the internet, and you can run it with your sensitive data, whether on your private cloud or on your premise. This is giving you a next level view. So Red Hat is working with all the model creators, like the Metas, the Mistrals, the DeepSeek of the world, where before they launch the model, like even GPT OSS, which is the open source version of GPT, which got launched on 5th of August, was working with us from even before they launched the product. So they came up with an optimized version of the GPT OSS with Red Hat, and you can download those optimized versions from the link that is provided. So once you get the slides, you'll get the link. This is from Hugging Face. It's open sourced, right? So these models, which also have a compressed, more optimized version of these models, can be downloaded from the Red Hat folder of Hugging Face, where you can host it on a secure network using VLLM. It can run on top of NVIDIA, also AMD, as well as, if it is Google, and I believe Google is in the room as well, we support TPUs now as an accelerator. We even support the Infiron, which is basically the AWS version of the accelerator. So we have been basically, as an engineering company, writing the drivers so that your models can run on top of any one of these accelerators, and you're not limited to just NVIDIA GPUs. So gives you that flexibility where you can set up GPU as a service or model as a service. You can start on a single sandbox. So you don't need a whole cluster of servers. You can start with a single box, and you can then scale it across multiple nodes where you can set up a multi-tenant, multi-cluster kind of a setup for your agentic applications to scale across. Now, if you don't know, agentic applications actually would require more tokens because it's kind of a reasoning model, which probably if you are taking 1,000 tokens today, you would probably utilize maybe 4,000 because it's almost 4x the kind of throughput agentic applications require, right? So your tokens per second is what you would like to, accelerate, and you would like to bring the cost of tokens down by using a platform like this. And this platform can run on your physical hardware, on your virtual cloud, or on your private cloud, right? Or it can run on the edge as well. So this is kind of a breakdown of how we are working with the model creators, the GPU creators, and the platform providers, which could be your hyperscaler, or it could be the on-premise hardware providers. So this is just an example. It's a funny example. So think of Llama, right? You have a Llama smaller version. Llama has 80,000 variants, by the way. So this is just an example of Llama 3.1, 8 billion parameter model. It's a very small size model. It's really fit. It can run in the gym like 5 kilometers a day. It is really good for you to host it on a single GPU. So you don't need a massive infrastructure for hosting this Llama, but is it good to run for a marathon? Maybe not, right? So maybe it will not be able to run the marathon, which is like a production grade, setup. So in order to deploy this in production, what you need is the bulky Llama. The Llama, which is full precision, full weight, which is like 70 GB, it's almost like 70 billion parameter, which is like 43 GB in size. And it requires 300 GB of memory, GPU memory, to run the model. So it's not the limitation on the tensor core on the GPU to run these models. It's the limitation of the GPU memory, which is only 80 GB, to basically host these models. So you need 4 GPUs to run this bulky model on-prem or on your private cloud. This kind of gives you like a challenge because each GPU card is almost like $40,000. So what Red Hat is doing, it is working with these model providers and the GPU makers to create optimized versions of these models. Not just Llama, but it could be Mistral, it could be DeepSeek, even GPT OSS, where we kind of compress, quantize not only the models, but also the KV cache, the active tokens. So there's a whole research that goes behind it. Without losing accuracy, you quantize the model so that it can take lesser GPU, lesser memory, and lesser footprint in terms of resources. And most importantly, it will be faster in terms of latency, right? So this is the kind of work that Red Hat is doing with the model creators and with the GPU makers, both at the same time. You will get to hear more about this, but since the topic today is agentic AI, by the way, if you are just talking at a high level about agentic AI, you still need the models to power your agents, right? So if you look at the setup of an agentic AI solution, you have the GPUs at the bottom, you have the models or the LLMs that basically will be leveraged by the agents, and then you have either the tool calling or the function calling. And if you're really interested in building your agents and knowing more about agents, we have a session in the afternoon in the breakout where we go deep into agentic AI and the agentic platform. So basically, this kind of a setup would be required for you, where here you would be using more tokens per second. So if you are trying to build an agentic application, you should really look at the cost of ownership for those agents when you try to scale it across the enterprise. And this is where Red Hat can really help. So when it comes to agentic applications, Red Hat has partnered with Llama Stack, which is one of the Meta open source projects. Llama Stack is like your single entry point, a single SDK that is MCP aware and can basically help you build any kind of agentic applications if required. So it's a coded one. So Llama Stack is like your replacement for LangChain or LangFuse, but you also can have low code, no code kind of agentic applications like Diffie, NA10, Flowwise. There are many that are coming up in this area which can be hosted on top of this. So we support the low-code ones, but if you want to build like a infrastructure level, agentic application, Llama Stack is something that is fully supported by Red Hat. We contribute to the upstream project with Meta in this area. And then, of course, the platform services like the container platform and the thing goes below it, right? When it comes to, sorry, I went back instead. So one of the other important things when you're putting it into the enterprise is the guardrails, the AI safety side of things. So Red Hat also has been partnering with Meta and the guard models, where we also partner with MIT and IBM research in this area, where we have kind of created like a guardrail orchestrator. So instead of hitting the model directly, this basically agent will be hitting the guardrail, which will be intercepting all the traffic. And this is customizable framework, where you can basically edit the regex, so you can stop PII data from leaking out, or you can control what kind of information goes in and goes out of this system. Last but not the least, this is fully certified on NIST, HIPAA, FIPS. FIPS is one of the most important certifications and most stringent certification. It's called Federal Information Security, Processing Security. So basically this one certifies your platform to be utilized in defense, in government organizations like Home Affairs. So this is where there is zero vulnerability in the applications that we provide on the platform. So all the open source is fully certified. It's fully vulnerability proof that we basically provide, and there's a peace of mind that Red Hat provides to the customers. Just one last thing on the Red Hat offerings. It can be a very lightweight, like a Docker image, which you just want to host your agentic applications on. Or it could be something where you want to train the model, which is the RHEL AI. Or it could be a full container platform which can scale to thousands of users or millions of users. And this is where the OpenShift AI will come. So we have kind of three flavors to our product, which could be very, very lightweight to all the way to a container platform which runs on top of OpenShift, right? So this is an offering for the market. If you look at the stack, it adds up the hardware, the GPUs, the platform services like your container platform, the AI platform which will allow you to train your models, serve your models, as well as monitor your models. And basically, this will be like a stack that can be hosted anywhere on any cloud and can host any model on any accelerator. Last but not the least, if you really want to explore building an agentic AI solution and you need our help to understand how to do that, how to get started, of course, we'll be working with Metrodata here and the partner of ours for Indonesia. But we have a team which can come in as consultants and help you with a discovery session to get started with what your requirements are and build from there. So with that, thank you all. Really appreciate your time. We do have a session in the afternoon which goes deep into agentic AI, which you can use to build on top. So we call it accelerating the agentic AI development. And I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you. Terima kasih.